You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 app.
Studios in Los Angeles. Here's Eddie Garcia.
In Major League Baseball games of note, the Yankees beat the Rockies 10-3. New York slugger Aaron Judge blasted 2 home runs to give him 50 and 51 on the season. Third time in his Major League career he's hit the 50 home run mark in a single season. New York now a game and a half up on Baltimore for first in the AL East, with the Orioles losing the Sunday night game against the Astros 6-3. Alex Bregman and Yanner Diaz went back-to-back for Houston. They've got a 4.5 game lead on Seattle atop the AL West. Guardians beat the Rangers 4-2. Cleveland's lead in the AL Central's back at 3 games on Kansas City and Minnesota. Royals lost to the NL East, leading Phillies 11-3. Twins fall to the Cardinals 3-2. Dodgers get a Mookie Betts 2-run homer in the 8th to beat the Rays 3-1. Shohei Ohtani hit on the forearm. X-rays were negative. LA 3 games up on Arizona atop the NL West. Diamondbacks did keep pace with their 6th win in a row, beating the Red Sox 7-5. NL Central leading Brewers lose to the A's 4-3.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you can pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and our running back coach didn't take the test. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. That's Box Eye Care, 205-342-0660. We'll tell you more about them in just a moment, but they bring you this show each and every day. We're glad to have you up and Adam with us this morning. We want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. You can also join us on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, etc. Comment, react, add your questions in on Facebook. It is the Martin Houston Show. Glad that you have chosen to get up and Adam with us on this beautiful morning. Of course, it is a Monday morning, so that means we'll have Kennedy Smith III join us to talk all things Alabama football. We'll look at Saban's first big weekend. How did you do? What grade would you give him? We'll spend this week doing Alabama's SWOT analysis, their strengths, their weaknesses, the opportunities and threats to this football team, being able to make a nice run. And last but not least, we'll do a kind of a weekend recap. We'll try to get it all in, but we won't do it without you. So once again, call us at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama one. That's the hotline on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. Go to boxeyecare.com. They have that great new lab and in-house lab, which means that they can provide you even better service than what you've become accustomed to at their prior location. That's right. They're the new location down off of Oscar Baxter Drive, 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. In-house lab, same great service, competitive prices, same great service. I can't say enough about them. Go check them out and find out for yourself. That's boxeyecare.com. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. Man, let's rejoice. And we can rejoice because he made this day, but we can also rejoice because it's game week. Finally, almost all the hay is in the barn. But remember to take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Lots of different conversations we can get to. Of course, recap. High school football got underway. Kudos to all of those teams. And even Hoover, despite the controversy around Hoover and losing their coach, they go down to Florida and get a big win. So kudos to their new coach and the team for bouncing back in such a tough situation. But you know, one of the good things about college football, and it's a conversation I want to have, X, is everybody has said that Dabo Swinney is going to regret not going all in on the portal. Well, one guy who's gone all in on the portal is Florida State. Right? I know it's game week for Alabama, but I have to set this stage up because I think it's a worthy conversation that we're going to have all year long. Norvell has gone all in on the transfer portal, which I don't like. I personally, I think you use the portal, and one of the hosts from the weekend said, I think the portal's great for filling gaps, but not great for building a roster. Everybody's dogged his ACC counterpart, Dabo Swinney, for not going all in on the transfer portal, right? And then there's people like Alabama who didn't have a choice on whether they went to the portal or not, but they didn't go to the portal to build their roster. They went to the portal to fill the gaps because of the people who left. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when I was watching the Florida State game and all you heard was, oh, transfer, oh, transfer, oh, transfer, oh, transfer. The entire team. And everybody dogs Dabo. Let me ask you this, Xavier. How can Dabo go to the transfer portal when none of his players left? See, everybody says that Dabo he should embrace the transfer portal. Dabo has said, I believe the guys I recruit, I can go into this thing and I can develop my guys, develop my team. Well, we just saw Saturday, Georgia Tech had some transfer guys for key spots. The rest of their team was built off of who they've recruited. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's Florida State this year seems to be Alabama South with all the guys that they got from Bama, and of course they got guys from other places, including
everywhere.
DJ Ngalale, who is a former Clemson player, and it didn't work out well for him. Like you said, Brent Key at Georgia Tech, a former Saban assistant, got some guys from the portal, built around what he has recruited and what they have recruited, and it was supplemental, not foundational. And they were able to get the win this weekend, and
they were clearly the most physical, dominant team, X. There was zero question.
Clearly.
Right? They had 4 offensive linemen returning. Now, do you think it's possible that those 4 offensive linemen may not be 5 stars and 4 stars, but they just been in the program under Key's tutelage for the last few years? And then they didn't have to. Yeah. And we talk about offensive line being where it starts. Then they brought in a defensive coach who put in some pieces to fit his style, and they took care of business. I mean, it was the funnest part about Saturday for me, X, was that we don't have to listen to Florida State for an entire year to talk about how they were cheated last year. Cause I don't know who was over that program. I think this is what I think last year. I think had Florida State went out and won their bowl game, they would have gotten voted national champions over somebody. I mean, by some polls or whatever. They wouldn't have been the BCS. I mean, the playoff national champion, but they would have gotten a national championship last year. I just believe that. And when you bring in a bunch of players who are only playing for a championship and not for their school, that's what you get. And this year, Norvell went out to try to build another team, not a program. It's going to be interesting to see what happens Saturday. But see, Dabo and Kirby are about the same. Kirby just hasn't said it. Kirby's not all into the portal either. He just hasn't come out and said, I'm going to build off of my talent. So anyway, any other thoughts on that? Wyatt, Chase, you guys have any thoughts on that?
Man, it was ugly to watch. I mean, just the overall dominance of that game. Even though the score was 24-21, Georgia Tech dominated that game. Yeah. I mean, it was from start to finish. They had one play, and I can't remember when it happened, but I think where they just washed the entire Florida State defensive line. Running back made a cutback and took it 15 yards downfield. I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah, it was for me. I didn't get to watch the game in its entirety, but it was good to see. Chuck, you're here on the on the hotline with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning to you all. Yeah, I was watching high school and college football in week 0 this weekend on ESPN and on ABC, watching Florida A&M and Norfolk State. Florida A&M won in Atlanta. My reason for calling
Florida A&M won after Florida A&M won, Chuck, after being dominated for what about 3 quarters? I mean,
sure
yeah, I left because Norfolk State was just killing them. I said, oh wow. And they had like 70 players returning from 80 players from last year's team that lost 6 games by 1 point? And I thought, this team is ready, and they didn't get it done. But go ahead. What you got?
Yeah, and as a coincidence, you talking about Florida State, the coach at Florida A&M, James Cozy, was on that 1993 national championship team as a cornerback. James Cozy III. And, my reason for calling, I was thinking about what you were talking about, what happened, that was last week, you were talking about what happened with Miami, Ohio, and their feelings about the kicker. But it happened, Miami, Ohio, that's the cradle of coaches. That's school. That's what people know that school for, because that's stepping stone for those great coaches like your Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes, and Paul Brown of Cleveland Browns, who started the Cincinnati Bengals. That's what they're known for, the cradle of coaches. You see, they didn't stay there in Oxford, Ohio. But and also you were talking about the Georgia Tech Florida State game. It looked like the Alabama sector played out. I'm going to keep it on Alabama because Brent Key used to be offensive line coach at Alabama, and they played basic football and won. And also they had a quarterback named Haynes King. His father used to coach here in Monroe, John King, who's the legendary coach at Longview High School in Longview, Texas. And he's from over in his father's from over in Spring Hill, Louisiana, home of John David Crow, the Texas A&M Heisman Trophy winner back in the 50s under Coach Bear Bryant.
Bear's only Heisman Trophy winner.
Bear's only Heisman Trophy winner. That's where Haynes King's father's from, Spring Hill, Louisiana. And Haynes, but what happened? Haynes got from under Texas. You know, he came from Texas A&M after Jimbo Fisher came to Georgia Tech. It looked like it worked out well for him coming there, and what Coach Brent Key did, play basic football. And I was looking at him, and also looked like, you know, like you said, they don't have all the 4 and 5 stars at Georgia Tech. Let's face it, this is a school that's known for its great engineering. I think the engineering and the calculus and everything else played out. I think that they did some math there, and they came out. They put it in the right position, kicked the field goal, and won the ball game. I just had to put some humor in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate that. Chuck from Louisiana, appreciate you being a part. And as we go to break, he brought up a couple of key things there. We talked about a kicker last week. We talked about the kicker last week and how important the kicker could be. Well, we saw that for both teams, actually. Florida State not even in the game without their kicker. So,
59-yarder.
A 59-yarder with room to spare. He could have kicked that from 65 probably. The guy was standing almost at the fence. But either way, it wasn't enough as the young man who was from Dublin, Ireland gets to his home. He gets to go all the way across the world on the other side of the world and kicks his first game winning touchdown as Georgia Tech took down the undefeated. Oh, sorry. They were undefeated though. Seminoles. Well, they won't be able to make that claim this year. And they lost to a team within their conference. And they lost to a team that, just ran the ball. I think there's something to that. We'll talk with Kennington Smith III, as we come back. On the other side, as we go to break here, don't forget to check out North River Timber Company. If you own timberland in West Alabama, North River Timber Company, Courtney White and Chase Pearson can help you timber harvesting, land management, appraisals, and more. NorthRiverCO@gmail.com or call 205-242-5127. That's Courtney White or Chase Pearson at 205-799-0665. We'll be back on the other side. Right here on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Monday morning to you. It's already back again, folks. Well, we do have an accident right now in Northport on McFarland Boulevard at Upper Columbus Road. That fender bender is causing a bit of a delay for you. You are easing on those brakes, trying to maneuver around that. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of the road.
And an easy buying experience.
Come shop with Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa, 3200 Skyland Boulevard East, or online at Mercedes-of-Tuscaloosa.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
This will be one of the hottest weeks so far this summer. The sky mostly sunny today, the high 95. Clear tonight, the low 69. Tomorrow and Wednesday, very hot. The sky partly to mostly sunny with highs between 97 and 100. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
I'd a whole lot rather that the player act right and do right and be successful than to win a lot of games.
I think it's important that they graduate. I think it's important that they go to class. I think it's important that they do right.
His approach wasn't just about winning games. It was about how could he impact us as players, impact his community, impact the state, and really impact anybody that he came in contact with.
A lot of the guys didn't have dads around or may not have had a positive male role model in their life.
Man, if it hadn't been for Coach Stalling, I probably wouldn't have played another down of football.
The greatest reflection on the success of any coach is what his players say about him.
A great football coach, without question. He really modeled to me how to be a champion coach, a champion father, a champion husband, how to serve the community.
It's amazing.
And that right there is just a small sample of the Do Right documentary by Coach Gene Stallings, my coach. And I can attest to everything that was just said in that particular video. And I play that part to tell you, hey, go to DoRightStallings.com and find out more details about that particular documentary and how to get tickets and all of that. But the other part is Dabo said he taught me how to do things the right way, how to be a Coach X, how to be a Coach Kennington. And it wasn't just about the players. It was about creating family. It was about fatherhood, about modeling for the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Dabo gets dogged for that same mindset today, guys. The question is, after seeing what Brent Key did at Georgia Tech over Florida State, who has fully embraced this new transfer portal, NIL, bring it all in, swap all the players out and all of that stuff, and Dabo's on the other side, are we going to see this year play out with which way he's going to win? Is Dabo carrying the banner for do right? We'll see. I know one for old school football, old school roster management. Keep as many guys as you can and bring in guys through scholarships and a few through the portal to fill key spots versus overhaul your roster every year. Welcome into the program, Kennington. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing well, doing well. Kenny, we got a couple calls I'm going to get to in a quick moment, but want to get your thoughts. Is that going to be a battle or a conversation all year, especially with the way this first weekend started off with the whole point of one guy who almost been our coach, could have been our coach, I should say, versus, the Brent Key, who appears to be doing the things the old Saban way, and maybe even a little bit of that Coach Stallings way.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is going to be something that we watch all year. I mean, really, it's going to start week one. Fortunately for Dabo and Clemson, there isn't a 14 playoff because I'm of the opinion that Georgia is smoking Clemson on Saturday, but that doesn't mean anything in the context of Clemson season. The ACC is completely up for grabs. All of these teams that we look at the top are kind of a crapshoot, honestly. So I do think this year is going to be a very interesting case study for Dabo in terms of how he's built out his roster. And Brent Key is doing a great job at Tech. I did a story a couple months ago where I talked to high school coaches anonymously in the Atlanta area, and all of them spoke really high of Brent Key and what he's been able to build. And one coach told me in particular that don't be surprised if Brent Key, wins some couple of high-profile recruiting battles, in the next couple of years of what he's doing. And we see Georgia Tech is killing it on the trail as well. So shout out to them. Great win. And it's good to see that he's got them on the right track.
Yeah, and this is what nobody is talking about. Brent Key is 5-0 in his last 5 games against double-digit underdog and ranked teams. So if he could coach those everyday games, he might. If he flew around and raised his floor, his ceiling could be pretty high. Real quick, because I won't have you back on. You said you're of the mindset that Georgia's going to smoke Clemson. Oh wow.
Yeah. The thing with Clemson is I just don't know how they're going to score on offense. I have to see it for myself because we don't really know what they have in the perimeter. That's really what Clemson's calling card for years in Dabo's heyday was they had a legitimate claim at wide receiver U, and their recruiting and development has waned. If you look at the strength of their offense, it's really in the running back room with guys like Maffa, but you're not really running the ball on Georgia. That hasn't been the case for several years. So if it relies on Cade Klubnik against Georgia's defense to win the game and score a lot of points, I just don't see a pathway for Clemson to win that way. So they're just going to have to show me something that I haven't seen them do really since before they played Georgia a couple years ago. Which is throwing the ball down the field at a high clip and being able to complement that on the run. So until I can see that, I just don't know how they're going to win that game.
Yeah, and I'm not saying win or not. I haven't made my decision yet, but I think Clemson's defense and Georgia's offense nullify each other. I don't think that Georgia has a great defense yet because they don't have a lot of depth on the D-line, and they lost some key players. So I think Georgia may be getting the same thing that Bama used to get until they play. Now, Bama always responded, and Saban said it Saturday. Somebody's going to have to beat Alabama Georgia, for me to pick somebody over Georgia, which was a legit statement. Somebody's going to have to beat Kirby other than Alabama. And the guy that did that, no other coaching has ever beat Kirby Smart in a football game that's in the game now. So they're going to have to do that. But I think it's a misnomer that Clemson was always just an offensive team. I think that the reason they dominated Alabama in 2017 was they had the best defense in the country. And he's built that defense back up. We'll see if this guy can call it the way Venables did, but we'll watch that. I wouldn't pick Clemson right now today, but I wouldn't say smoke. And I'll eat crow if that happens. Hey, let's get in Alan, who's been patient. Alan, you're in. You want to talk about the kicker? I need to quickly say I got the punter and the kicker mixed up. I think it's the kicker the punter, according to Curtis Moore too, that was from Ireland for Georgia Tech. But the kicker was huge, and that's what you wanted to talk about, Alan. Is Alan still there? Going once, going twice. Sold. If you're out there, Alan, give us a call back. Pat, you're in. What's on your mind, sir? You're in with Kennedy Smith and Xavier. All right. Is something going on with the phone lines? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Wyatt, hey guys, are the callers gone or we're having technical issues? All right, let's go back to Kennington. Kennington, as we get ready to let's just go ahead and get the break here, come back on the other side. You listen to the Martin Houston Show. We appreciate you being a part of what we do each and every day. I want to thank the great folks over at Dixie Battery Supply. They can help you power all of your devices, anything that you need powered. They've got a battery that will take care of it. You can call them at 205-758-9190. You can visit them online at DixieBatterySupply.com. They buy junk batteries, but they also can provide new and refurbished batteries. Never feel powerless again. Power up any device, and that's at Dixie Battery Supply. They also can help you get into a golf cart, especially if you need to get around Tuscaloosa other than the traditional way. So go check out DixieBatterySupply.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Monday morning to you. It's already back again, folks. Well, we do have an accident right now in Northport on McFarland Boulevard at Upper Columbus Road. That fender bender is causing a bit of a delay for you. You are easing on those brakes, trying to maneuver around that. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of the
and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and Kennington. Check out Taco Casa quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. We want to invite you to go check them out for lunch and our dinner. That's Taco Casa quality, taste, and value, 50 years and counting. Taco Casa, tacocasa.com. All right. Did we figure out the situation with the phone lines? Let me see. Alan, are you there with us? No. All right. Communicate with me, guys. What's going on? All right, Kennington, going back to the conversation with the Alabama, let's go ahead and get into that conversation. Let me address something really quick, Kennington, before I get into it, and you can respond to it. Actually, you can respond to it. There was a very unfortunate accident in high school football down in Morgan County. High school quarterback lost his life because of a brain injury. And Frankie Clark has asked me, asked the question, should they start wearing the caps over the top, because injuries in football is getting worse. And, you know, it's not getting any better. Well, that first of all is not a true statement. That unfortunately, this was a very, very tragic accident, but injuries and all that stuff aren't going up just because the severity of an incident. The other part is I did a little research on it. This is so unfortunate. The kid had a leg tackle and fell backwards and hit his head. It wasn't the severity of the hit. It wasn't any of that. This could have happened in any sport, basketball court. If you could fall back, hit your head, you know, all of these things. So this was not the severity of the physicalness of the football game. So I'm not a big fan of the cap and all of that. And like I said, it's very unfortunate that this happened, and I pray for him and his family and all of those kids who were at that game and a part of his team. But, and then he used NFL as an example. There's a lot of things the NFL do that I think is stupid and I don't agree with, like the kickoff. But anyway, Kenneth, you want to say anything in regards to that, or your ex want to respond?
Yeah, just want to say, rest in peace to the young man. And, we're thinking of and praying of his community, and all the surrounding areas. Like you said, it's some things that sometimes, unfortunately, are unavoidable in football, especially when guys are flying around and hitting each other with pads. With that said, I think now would be a good time to just say that while we all enjoy watching the game and consuming it and talking about
all right.
It's a horrible thing that happened. Young man's name was Caden Taylor. He played quarterback at Morgan Academy, and just prayers out to his family, his mom, his dad, his little sister, his teammates, coaches, friends, the players and coaches and families from the other team that were there, Southern Academy, that night. And, you hate to see something like this happen, and just pray for them through this horrible time as they have to bury their son and brother.
Yep. All right. Do we have Kennington back? All right. Yeah. And I want to thank Frankie for bringing that up, X, while we wait to get reconnected with Kennington. I had it when I said the weekend recap. I had intended to bring that up in the beginning and just had overlooked it. But it's so unfortunate. And unfortunately, football, you can't make it completely safe. And that's what I think some people's goal is. Some people is to have it where it's flag football. Unfortunately, it'll never get to that point. And I do think that if you look at it, I just think if you look at what happened, you can't, it's tough. I don't know what else I can say about it. But when you look at the percentage of injuries and head injuries and things like that, it's not the same. And the stories just get bigger coverage when it's football, especially when it comes to NFL. And NFL make a lot of decisions based off of lawsuits and not being sued and all of that, and not necessarily out of player safety. Because truthfully, if they wanted to take out player safety, they would get rid of punt return, where a guy's looking up, waiting on the ball. And the other guys are running 45 yards on a dead sprint to hit him. So, but they do little things each year to kind of appease the crowd that thinks that football is so violent. But that speaks a lot to the feminization, and a lot of people are going to get mad at me, of our society. This injury to me is so tragic, but I don't think it speaks to what the people were trying to fix in terms of the violent hits and things like that. Because, like I said, this was a fallback situation. Let's just we'll keep things going, and hopefully if we can get Kennington back on with this, we'll keep that going, X. So I'm gonna need you to take while I try to connect with Kennington. X, when you look at this week, and what Alabama has to do. Actually, I want to talk to Kennington when it comes to that. Let's talk about the Saban and his comment. Saban, what's your grade for Saban on week 1 and what he was able to do with the ESPN game day?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Saban is a natural. I think he did really good. His analysis, I mean, you listen to what he said about Georgia Tech. He said, hey, if they play just a little bit better defense, they'll surprise some people. And it didn't take long for that to come into effect and come into play. So this is just something that I think he's going to be really good at, and hopefully he does it for a few years. I don't know if you saw this, but the funniest moment to me was when they showed one of the signs and Miss Terry was sitting there looking at him like, yeah.
When some lady,
want to.
some lady, if you don't know what they were talking about, it looks like we got Kennington back on. Some lady tried to pick up Coach Saban with a sign, and Miss Terry looked at it and said, "Oh no, you don't." So anyway, Kennington's back. Kennington, we lost you in the middle of your comment there. Anything else you want to say on that before we bring in these two callers?
Yeah, just wanted to say that, I think we all agree that we're just, hoping and praying that everybody makes it through the season, safely and without injury. And that we can kind of enjoy watching all the top players and everybody in full depth being able to go out there and play the game that they love.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple calls. We're going to get to them quickly, and we'll keep Kennington. Kennington, do you have a few minutes to do a little overtime this morning?
Yeah, I have a little time.
Okay, we'll do an overtime session after we go off the radio airwaves at the Martin Houston Show on Facebook. So stay tuned, all of you who are tuning in online, and we'll get more with Kennington. Alan, you're in. You wanted to talk about kickers? I give it to you to talk with Kennington and the Axe. Oh, all right. What about Pat? All right. Undoubtedly, there's some issues with the phone lines. We're going to move past. We're going to keep moving forward. Kennington, let's get the break so we can just have a full segment with you. Apologize to our callers for not being able to get you guys in. Sometimes technology and technical difficulties happen, and that's what's going on this morning. We'll be back on the other side with the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. We're speaking with Kennington Smith III of The Athletic. He'll be back on the other side to get his thoughts on this Alabama team as week 1 is upon us.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Monday. You'll know football's getting close because the great Max Howell will be back with us at 7:30. In the second hour, Doug Bell will join us. We'll talk about the BMW. We'll find out who's in the final 30 for the FedEx Cup Championship. We'll also take your phone calls and get ready for Alabama football. It will start next Saturday.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. Walmart has recalled nearly 10,000 cases of Great Value brand apple juice. It's sold in stores in Alabama and 24 other states across the United States. Inspectors found the juice contains potentially harmful levels of inorganic arsenic. Click TuscaloosaThread.com all throughout the day for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Wrapping up an accident on McFarland Boulevard at Upper Columbus Road. It looks like they've sat that on the shoulder, but it is still a bit slow. And Culver Road, you've got some pretty heavy slow goes there at 44th Avenue. Watch out for a possible fender bender. Otherwise, we're moving with a purpose on McFarland.
When you buy a select tool at the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Limit 1 per transaction. Exclusions apply. Full eligible tool list in store and online.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. If you're just not joining us, want to invite you to go check out the officially licensed Legacy Collection, co-branded Alabama gear, premium jerseys, caps, and more. Go to athletesthread.com/collections/ Martin-Houston, or if you tune in on the live stream, just click the QR code. Got a new bomber jacket that we have there. Of course, we still have the sweatshirts, T-shirts, and more. And we appreciate your support there. New NIL for us old dudes. Show us some love. All right. It's now time for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. Kennington, I appreciate you hanging around with us, and we'll apologize to all of our listeners and callers and viewers for the technical difficulties that happen at time. Unfortunately, it happened on the biggest Monday of the year, Kennington. But let's talk about Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. It was fun to get things started. This is one of the most anticipated games, Kennington, that Alabama's played in a long time. What are your initial thoughts in terms of this team?
Yeah, I think what you just said is a very astute point, and I'll probably take it a step further and say this is probably as interesting or intriguing of an Alabama at this point in their program in a really, really, really long time, definitely pre-Saban, where the interest in the program, whether you love them or hate them, is peaking because you just want to know what it looks like. So this team is going to have a lot of eyes on them. I wouldn't be surprised if this was probably one of the more higher-watched Alabama season openers in a while. And that's exciting. And I'm really just interested to see what's going to happen with the team. Obviously, there's some position battles at play. So to be able to kind of see those kind of play out in real time, get a chance to see all of these guys kind of rotating around in fall camp, get a chance to actually play it out in the game is what I'm looking forward to the most.
All right. So one of the things I like to do as we roll into week one is kind of do a SWOT analysis. And we'll start off with, what do you take is the biggest strength for this team?
I would say the biggest strength is the running back room. I think if you just look at in terms of talent by recruiting pedigree, top line guys that can play, depth of the position, young players ascending on the roster, check all of those boxes. In addition to continuity with their position coach Robert Gillespie from the last staff, that would probably be my position of strength.
Yeah, when you watch the Florida State game, I had someone immediately text me and go, "Ooh, man, that's going to hurt Roydell." I said, no, reason Roydell is in Tallahassee is because he was the fourth best running back last year and would be probably the fourth best running back this year. And this staff would not have played him just because he had been here. They didn't have that type of loyalty mindset. Your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's very telling that Alabama lost not only Roydell, but Jace McClellan last year as well. And there weren't many fans concerned if there was any concern about the future of the running back room. I think that kind of says it all.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't go out and panic and try to find anybody to replace losing two starters. And you don't go out and look for somebody new that tells you all you need to know. Kennington, what's a weakness for this team?
I'm going to say pass rush again. I mean, I know that everybody's focused on the secondary, but the secondary still has guys who have played a lot and started on championship teams at different points in the secondary, maybe not at corner, but the secondary has way more experience in returning production than edge rusher, which probably has the least on the team. So to replace Turner, Braswell, not have anybody in that room who's made a college start yet, to me, that has to be the biggest area of concern.
All right, X.
Yeah, when you look at the strength of this team, I'm going to actually go offensive line. Even though we've got a couple of new starters on it, I think that when you look at what Booker brings back to the table, Roberts, Proctor coming back and getting that starting spot back, and then you look at one of the best centers in college football with Brailsford. If Formby or Pritchett, whichever one it is, can lock down that right side, this is probably the most talented offensive line in the country. And then when you look at weaknesses, I kind of agree with Kennington. It's probably going to be the edge rushers, just simply for the fact that none of them have started a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess I would ask you guys, Kennington, if that's the case, is it possible that Alabama generates pressure in different ways? Do they go to the old school like Alabama did, where we had to bookends in obvious third down situations, and using another potential with that 5 DB as your base? You almost take out an edge rusher and put in a defensive end potentially, or you use it to through the DB. So do you see them potentially, until those guys come along, manufacturing pass rush in different ways other than that guy?
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I think Kane Wommack is going to do what he needs to do in order to generate pressure. So I guess I should rephrase and say edge rusher specifically would be the weak point. I think they'll be able to do enough in the pass rush category, especially what we've been hearing about the defensive line. So I would just say edge rusher specifically if we're talking about position groups, strengths and weaknesses. But I do think that he will dial up some pressure. That's why I asked you that question, because I know you said pass rush, but you were really speaking potentially of the guys that haven't played, the guy who will really replacing Dallas Turner, that dude, not necessarily pass rush and pressure. What's the biggest opportunity for this team? And it may be the same answer as the weakness, but what's the biggest opportunity for this team to improve or have a group jump up? Yeah, I think the secondary, just a lot of new faces, a lot of new pieces, a lot of young guys. I think that the first few games of the season is going to be a really big, I would say, opportunity. 3 of Alabama's first 4 games are at home, so you have an opportunity to kind of, play at home, get comfortable. They're going to face, some pretty formidable attacks in terms of just like early tests for young players in a new secondary. Western Kentucky, South Florida's going to come in and be aggressive, and then they're going to go up, play Wisconsin. They're a team that's trying to throw the ball more and transition more into an air raid under Luke Fickell. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for this secondary to work out some kinks, a lot of opportunities for young players to get reps. I think that's probably the group that could probably take the biggest jump in the first 4 weeks of the season before we get to the Georgia game.
And you're talking about the edge rushers?
I'm talking about the cornerback. Well, the secondary specifically, but more specifically like the young corners.
X, anything real quick on that?
I think it's going to be, I'll go offensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be the wide receiving core. There's some guys that have played a lot of ball there, but they haven't been the guy or the starters. So I think you'll see that be the jump or the most improvement through the first few weeks.
And the last letter of the analysis. And by the way, Ken and I are going to go a little deeper on the other side. So you're welcome to stick around. But Kennington, wanted to get your initial thoughts, and I'm going to take you a little deeper on each one of those on the other side. What do you see the biggest threat to this team not reaching its fullest potential?
I would probably say just the schedule is a lot tougher than last year. I think when you talk about having a young team, new coaching staff, and the schedule that they have, there could be an opportunity for some slip-ups. I don't think Alabama's going to outright miss the playoffs or anything like that, but we're talking about them maybe sweating it out on Selection Sunday. I think those factors mixed together could make for some bumps along the road that could lead to some losses that would put them up together.
All right. We'll be back on the other side to keep things rolling. We appreciate you being a part of the conversation with us. You can switch over if you're on the radio airway. You can switch over to the Facebook account, the Martin Houston Show on Facebook, and you can keep the conversation going. We have Kennedy Smith III at Skinny Kenny _ on the X, Kennington Smith III on the athletic.com, and you can follow him. Kennington, tell them real quick what you got coming up this week.
Man, we have a lot coming up this week, both nationally and Alabama focused. I would just say stay tuned. We got some really big things in store this week.
All right. As we get out of here, I want to thank Frankie Clark for bringing up the high school kid that was injured. And I also want to say that not all equipment is created equal. And these smaller schools sometimes have old equipment, as he mentioned. And sometimes it is the equipment, but I do not. I think the sport inherently is any more dangerous and probably much safer than it's ever been. I'm Martin Houston. That's Kennington Smith. That's Xavier Houston. This has been your home for Alabama Sports Talk 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Remember to trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. We'll have some OT right here on the other side. Thanks for being a part of it. We'll be back in just a moment.
A dedication